to the Executive Order number 10 that allows for parliamentary autonomy at that level. Kieran.
Absolutely clear. This is because the president was convinced beyond doubt that granting financial autonomy to the state houses of assembly would go a long way in deepening democracy and enhancing good governance across the country.
Precisely, the 36 state governors expressed support for the policy, even though many states were foot-dragging in terms of implementation. But financial autonomy was generally viewed as a new milestone for our democracy, which means that the state houses of assembly and judiciaries are now challenged to wake up to their constitutional responsibilities.
But that's just one out of the several elements of democracy that need to be addressed. If you recall, Claire, Plateau State was the first state to implement the full autonomy for the legislature and judiciary when in April 2021, the governor commenced the application of the principle, having signed into law and also persuaded many of his colleagues to do the same with Osun and Benue following suit.
Indeed, many other states are also considering, maybe at the framework stages. But one would have thought that financial autonomy for state legislatures would mean an end to political tension at the state houses of assembly. But recent impeachment sagas, precisely at the Plateau State House of Assembly, Imo State, and of course others, reveal that it may not yet be Uhuru at that level.
The impeachment saga you talked about did not just start now. Since 1999, we have had a series of impeachments of, speakers of state houses of assembly. In some cases, 1/3 of members of the House did that, and it held in some cases. But I think in the course of this program, we'll be able to review all of that. And of course, we want to know why it has persisted up to this moment.
Impeachment is a process. It is a constitutional process.
Exactly.
But there are procedures
exactly.
and all that. Yeah. So,
well, although the election and removal of speakers of the state houses of assembly is an exclusive preserve of the elected members who choose one of them as first among equals to lead them, impeachment of a state assembly speaker usually attracts attention for the fact that by the Constitution, the speaker is third in the line of ascension to power in the state.
Indeed, Kieran, and while the impeached speaker crisis was still raging, that's in Plateau State, the Speaker of Imo State House of Assembly, Paul Emeziem, was also impeached by 19 out of 27 lawmakers. Now, already accusations and counter-accusations have continued to fly while various political interests point fingers at each other as to who is to blame for the instability in their House of Assembly. Now, what are the intrigues and when will these storms calm down? How does it affect lawmaking in those states that are affected, precisely in Plateau, Imo, and others? And is this trend a fallout of the financial autonomy? Have we seen the last of the saga? The answers are blowing in the wind, and that's what we intend to focus on today on this Friday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, the last for this week. I am Claire Delabo Abdul-Razak, and as always, we do sincerely appreciate you for, of course, keeping faith with us. Kieran.
Yeah, and I am Kieran. You might also join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to this last edition of Good Morning Nigeria for the week. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and we're reaching you from our studios here in Abuja, the capital city of Nigeria.
Indeed, and in our usual tradition, we will be taking highlights of the morning news in a moment. We'll also take some business news, and much later, newspaper review with Bayo Toyebi. But Kieran and I will pause for now, while Dennis Deguloye will take the morning news. Dennis?
Good morning, Claire, and good morning, Kieran. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the morning news. The coming into effect of the Petroleum Industry Act has started paying off for Nigeria with the renewed commitment by Total Energies to invest more in the oil and gas sector of the nation's economy. President Muhammadu Buhari extracted this commitment in Paris, France, when the chief executive officer of the multinational oil company, Patrick Pouyanné, paid him a courtesy visit.
This engagement is about Total making commitments to their presence in Nigeria. They are going to make additional investment because of the PIA, and Mr. President has also given them his support. For us, that is actually the initial gain we expected, because if your investors, those who are already in the country, are not satisfied, then you have problems. But at least they have signaled to the rest of the world that Nigeria has now become a very attractive investment environment.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari says if vaccination is the only way to end the COVID-19 pandemic, a more coordinated approach must be adopted by all stakeholders towards plugging the vaccine supply gap in Africa. He says the licensing agreements must also be reached for the transfer of intellectual property and technology to support the production of vaccines on the continent. This was while addressing the opening session of the Paris Peace Forum, currently underway.
Let us not be burdened by what has been. Let us focus on what can be.
We must also build new coalitions for regional conflict to build peace.
Only 14.7 doses of vaccine per 100,000 has been administered in Africa, a clear case of lopsidedness.
Prospective investors from France have been assured of the federal government of Nigeria's capacity to guarantee their safety and investments. National Security Advisor Babagana Mongonu and other panelists made the submission at the Nigeria International Partnership Forum in Paris.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Interpol, as well as other international agencies, have been quite effective, in fact I would say very effective, in monitoring and trafficking illicit financial flows.
We have to work together to make Africa peaceful.
A call has gone out to governments in Africa to come up with practical and actionable recommendations to enhance the political, economic and social conditions of the people. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who made the call at the 51st Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region, says Africans must start to harness the opportunities provided by the post-COVID-19 economy to better the lives of citizens.
Parliaments are the locus of democracy. The price of liberty, once someone said, is vigilance. But I must say it's not just vigilance, but action. We must, for example, condemn adventurers who truncate democratic institutions by coups d'etat, as we have seen in parts of the continent in recent times. We should not only condemn such acts forcefully, but also act decisively to nip this undesirable trend.
And at the National Assembly, standing committees of the Senate that scrutinized the 2022 budgets of the various ministries, departments and agencies of government have commenced submission of their reports to the Senate Committee on Appropriations, which reiterated its resolve to complete the collation in record time.
This year, the Ministry of Finance is doing very well. Very, very extremely. It has been unprecedented. So we are going to pass the budget as planned.
The authority is determined more than ever to become fully self-funding by 2023, predicated upon the passage of the NEWA bill, which is before the National Assembly, and in so doing of scaling development of inland water transportation in Nigeria.
There is no way government will have a hold on an MDA that's fully autonomous.
We shouldn't encourage an agency to exit without publishing what you are generating.
Well, that concludes the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly after this break with Claire and Kieran. Have a great day.
how to make a perfect bowl of love? A perfect blend of taste that brings every ingredient to life. The fusion of different spices. The unique aroma that rejuvenates your senses. The heartwarming deliciousness. And the satisfaction that comes from every bite, which makes you say, I love my Indomie.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Transmitter operation and maintenance. Date 1st November to 5th November 2021, 1 week. Photojournalism and photography. Date 8th November to 26th November 2021, 3 weeks. Advanced broadcast accounting and auditing. Date 22nd November to 3rd December 2021, 2 weeks. The course fee for the 3-week course is 130,000 naira per participant, while the fee for the 2-week course and 1-week engineering course is 100,000 naira only per participant, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-43830 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
The NOA, for example, has succeeded a great deal in sensitization during the pandemic, and we have found the community mobilization officers most effective in the sensitization and in the advocacy campaigns, creating awareness on the coronavirus pandemic. We have done this through the production of jingles, which were very widely distributed in different languages, in English, in Hausa, in Yoruba, in Igbo, in Tiv, in Igala, in Kanuri, in Fulfulde, in Ijo, in Isoko, in Bini. In talk of any other language you can think of. We had translated sensitization messages.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, if you just joined us, the program is Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. Now let's talk business. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council launches online exporters directory to promote trades in the non-oil sector. Details with Alika Obanachi Aroa on Business News.
6 steps for you to get enlisted to it. You get to our website, get started, e-reg.
The drive to create access to global markets for the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is a continuous one, as the council is determined to boost market access and promote non-oil export. The latest step to sustain Nigeria's trade competitiveness is the launch of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council's online exporters directory and redesigned product profiles, a strategic step to address emerging challenges posed by COVID-19 and the volatility of the international trade trajectory.
NEPC, as the apex federal government agency for the promotion of non-oil exports, in tandem with the trends in trade trajectory and exporters' demand, has today fulfilled that expectation. Everything is connecting together for seamless trade, seamless export for our exporters.
To make sure that Nigerian exporters are not shortchanged, but rather they gear up and they fight and they get their own space in the global market.
The online trading platform captures information on products, global market trends, quality and labeling requirements, distribution channels, as well as food certification to enhance the visibility of non-oil exportable products in the global market. With business news, Alika Okpanachi, Arua.
That was fantastic innovation there. All right, business package by Alika Okpanache Arwa. Coming up next is newspaper review, and we'll be joining Bayo Atoyibi in a moment.
And Bayo is already here with us. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kirian. Good morning. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's a Friday. All right. Kirian.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, now let's begin with the leadership newspaper. Leadership newspaper. Soludo gets certificate of return today. Andy Uba kicks. That's the APC candidate for that election. That's on page 7. And on page 6, we have direct primaries best for Nigeria. That's according to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Bajabia Mila. Now, the lead story on leadership this morning, public hospitals struggle with poor facilities. With 2 riders to that, experts suggest ways to improve healthcare in 29,362 hospitals. Nigeria loses $2 billion to medical tourism annually. All that on page 4. PMB wants export restrictions on COVID-19 vaccines lifted. That's on page 7. Now below the photo story, orderly police arrest 14. Malami disowns suspect. It's on page 6. Troops kill 31 terrorists, arrest 71. It's on page 11. South Africa's former president de Klerk dies at 85. It's also on page 11. Federal government issues 2.7 million passports in 2 years. That's according to the Minister of Internal Affairs. It's on page 10 of the leadership newspaper. All right, Claire.
Okay, then. Let's quickly take a look at Al Jazeera newspaper, and it's leading with Paris Club refund. It captures its own lead story this way. Rumble over $418 million. And the writers to that story, governors admitted liability, and this is attributed to Malami, and court best way out, multi-million dollars consultancy unacceptable, says Fayemi, and presidency mute on the stalemate. And the next leading story on the front page of Al Jazeera newspaper is the Anambra fallout of the Anambra governorship elections. Now it says, Andy Uba rejects Soludo's victory. Andy Uba rejects Soludo's victory. Well, it's also trending here. And of course, he has claimed widespread electoral fraud and manipulation by INEC in cohorts, of course, with the incumbent governor of Anambra State. That's what this paper is reporting. Andy Uba rejects Soludo's victory. Now, also tucked in there, you find security force to man porous borders coming soon. And that's by the National Security Advisor. So we're having a security force that will be manning porous borders, hopefully to check smuggling activities going in and out from those areas, and also other criminals and criminality, being perpetrated via those porous borders. Bayo, I think that's something to really, would interest us. But Andy Uba is rejecting Soludo's victory.
Yes, I will come to that. But for the meantime, you remember the case of Todwe Salem, the journalist, our colleague,
yes,
who went missing last month? He has been found, but sadly he was found dead.
Yes, funny enough, I don't think the leadership carried that story.
Yes, he was a reporter for the Vanguard and was a National Assembly correspondent for the House of Representatives. He was last seen around the petrol station near the police headquarters. Some persons have been arrested in connection with his disappearance. Among them is a man who is said to have contacted the late Salem's wife to demand 100 million ransom in an SMS message. He had texted, "If you don't pay, Todwe will be killed in 7 days. For more information, call this number." The NUJ Abuja Council had protested his disappearance and presented a petition to the Inspector General of Police. 2 days ago, the House of Representatives passed a resolution calling the IGP to make investigation about his disappearance public. His daughter wrote, "Dear Daddy, I miss you. I love you every day. Love," and the daughter signed. Sadly, the daughter will never see the dad again.
You know, Bayo, it's surprising. If he was last seen at a petrol station near the police headquarters, we all know the location of the police headquarters. At what time? That's an indication of, you know, the security situation. If somebody can be picked within that location at that time and can be found, and when eventually he's found dead, then something is terribly wrong.
Well, he was said to have left.
There's cause for concern.
He's said to have left the National Assembly between 3 to 4 p.m. of that day, and when he was going, the last place he was found was around that premises.
But there are also reports, you know, on social media, you know, that he went to one garden that same evening, you know, with a lady, a relation of his, and then after spending some time there, he saw the lady off, you know, before he also would have found his way. I think this is part of the issues surrounding kidnapping going on inside Abuja.
The FCT.
There have been reports of that. And again, they use some unpainted cars, you know, to do that. And I want to believe that this is he was a victim of kidnapping.
Apparently, it's pointing out. So, but let's leave it's not necessary to speculate now. Luckily, some persons have been arrested. Investigations are going on. Police will eventually put the perpetrators to court.
Yes, I think the police commissioner for the FCT will need to really, you know, sit up and rejig the security, architecture for the FCT, because a lot is going on. A lot is going on, and people are becoming, you know, apprehensive of what is going on. Look at, for instance, you know, even the schools in the FCT needs to be protected. There's a story on the front page of Al Jazeera Bio. Bandits kill one, kidnap 2 children in FUT Mina.
Federal
University Technology.
Mina.
In Mina.
That's very alarming.
Yes, that's very alarming.
The other issue that involves the police is that Force Intelligence Bureau of the police had arrested 14 suspects over the invasion of the home of the Justice of the Supreme Court. On 29th of October, a man who called himself a chief superintendent of police led some armed men to the residence of the judge. Luckily, the police have praise for the security men at the justice's house because they resisted the invasion because they saw disparity in the instrument of search. The man that was arrested has in one instance showed an identity card which says he is CSP Lawrence Ajojo, and he claims to work for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Another ID found on him identified him as ASP Ojo. Apart from the 14 suspects arrested, 7 others are said to be alleged, and it includes 2 soldiers and an immigration officer. Others among them there's a journalist and a cleric among those arrested. The fixed police officer who led the invasion is alleged to have told his interrogators that he is a consultant to the Attorney General of the Federation.
While that is being commended, the civil society organization, you know, has commended the move by the IGP, you know, to have that constituted panel to investigate, but they're also asking the IGP to make the report public,
Yes,
so
there
that
was a parade by the Force Public Relations Headquarters yesterday.
Okay.
And at the parade, he said, I am not an officer of the Nigerian Police Force, but a consultant for the AGF, adding he did not send us to raid the House of the Justice. It may be recalled that the AGF had submitted a petition, a written petition demanding police investigation of the atrocities. A spokesman for the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, Usman Gwandu, says that Ajojo is a drowning man scavenging for a practical way of surviving. It may be recalled also that Senate...
One question an ordinary Nigerian would ask in this circumstance is, what could have given them the temerity to carry out such operation? Armed. And now we're talking about someone who is not a police officer engaging, in fact leading the operation. So it goes to show some kind of security lapses somewhere.
It is an organized crime, but I think let's not preempt the investigations. The investigations are ongoing.
Still going on.
The criminals have been paraded. Eventually, they will be prosecuted and the facts roll out. Meanwhile, Frederick William de Klerk, former deputy president of South Africa and the last president of apartheid, died yesterday in the morning. He died at age 85. He became president of South Africa when the then apartheid president, P.W. Botha, suffered a stroke and couldn't continue. And immediately, he used the opportunity of the fall of the Berlin Wall to dismantle apartheid. In February 1990, he unbanned political parties, released political prisoners, starting with Walter Sisulu and 19 others. He granted moratorium on death penalty, and 9 days later, he released Roli Nelson Mandela on 16th February 1990. There were negotiations for majority rule. He midwifed South Africa from apartheid to a non-racial society. He has said at that time that he wanted to be remembered for the role he played for my country to avoid catastrophe. And he also apologized for the things that happened. He says, as a young man, he supported the policy of separate development. He says it was wrong. Before he died yesterday, he said he was said to have put out a statement, and he said once again he's sorry for what had happened in the past. In 1993, he and Nelson Mandela were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right, yeah.
But there are two stories. Okay, sorry. There's two stories I would like you to talk about. One is the Paris Club refund. Where they said we're having rumbles over the $418 million, dollar. Governors. This paper is attributing this report to Malami. He says governors.
It's pending in court.
It's pending. Okay, so let's leave it. But the Andy Uba rejects Soludo's victory, and here are his claims. He says the BVAS, in polling units where the BVAS failed to function or malfunctioned, the INEC went ahead to conduct the election manually.
Those are allegations.
That's what I'm saying. These are his allegations, manually. Then he also says, according to this paper, that there were numerous cases where votes announced by INEC exceeded the number of accredited voters in polling units.
Okay. Well, the statement that was put out was by one Jerry Ibukwe, who was speaking on behalf of Andy Uba campaign organization. And what he said was that the elections were characterized by widespread irregularities, intimidation, and voter suppression to clear the path for Abuja. The statement says that Andy Uba will use legal means to reclaim his mandate. Well, he's entitled to that. Andy Uba scored 43,285. Charles Soludo scored 112,200.
That campaign organization should also realize the fact that it will be an uphill task, to unseat Abuja in Anambra State under normal circumstances. That party has been in power in Anambra for 16 years. So you must go the extra mile, to be able to unseat Abuja in that. I'm not saying that, his allegations, but it has to be proved, if he intends to go to court. But if other gubernatorial candidates, congratulated, Soludo for winning, I wonder where he got his own facts, because the PDP candidate just yesterday congratulated Soludo as well as the YPP candidate,
YPP was first to
and one of the candidates actually voted against himself in Ihiala. You know, he said, look, that there was no need, to waste his vote. So he voted for Solido in his own ward, in Ihiala. That's one of the candidates. So I don't know where this is coming
Kiran,
from.
congratulations. It's not a stamp of, acceptability. I don't know. It can be proved.
What else is it going to be?
Not necessarily.
But this was can be foretold. It was seen coming, because at the end of the collation, the agent for APC declined to sign the election result, which means that that was an indication that they had misgivings. It is their prerogative, and in an era of rule of law, let him go and present his facts before the court.
It's democratic.
Yes. Yeah. Don't forget, even President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated
precisely.
Solido,
and if the president had done that,
and has said congratulated INEC for the free, fair, and credible election, and specifically has also congratulated the police and the security forces for creating the atmosphere for that peaceful election.
On a good note to say, Brian, thank you and bye-bye. We'll see you next week.
God willing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kiran.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we shall be focusing our attention on the main issue for conversation this morning, which is on the issue of impeachment of speakers in the Houses of Assembly in the states of Nigeria. Stay with us.
Ministry of Works and Housing has the responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through road transport.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality,
lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. Now, to kickstart our conversation on instability of state assemblies, let's listen into this background report put together by our correspondent, Abdul Salam Chuprel.
The recent impeachment saga at the state houses of assembly is not new. In the history of Nigerian democracy, many speakers have been removed and replaced in a process that is usually characterized by controversy and public discourse. Although the process of election and removal of speakers of the state houses of assembly is an exclusive preserve of the elected members who choose one of them as first among equals to lead them, the Plateau State House, which has an APC majority, appeared to be running smoothly and enjoying cordial working relationship with the executive until the bubble burst a few weeks ago when the speaker was impeached. The same scenario played out in Imo State with the impeachment of the speaker and reinstatement of the deputy speaker. Recall that similar incidents equally played out in Edo State. Events at the Plateau State House of Assembly have, however, experienced a twist on October 28, 2021, when the former Speaker, Right Honorable Nuhu Abok Ayuba, was impeached and replaced by Right Honorable Yakubu Sanda of Pengana constituency of Basa local government area, who is also of the APC. According to the majority leader of the House, Honorable Nanlong Daniel, the former Speaker was removed for gross incompetence, financial mismanagement, and high-handedness, among other allegations. However, the former Speaker, backed by some members of the opposition, has kicked against his removal. Many have raised questions as to the legitimacy of the impeachment of the former Speaker. Already, accusations and counter-accusations have continued to fly, while various political interests point fingers at each other as to who is to blame for the rumble in the House. What is the true situation, and when will this storm calm down? How does this development affect lawmaking in Plateau State? Is this a fallout of the autonomy? These are some questions that guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be answering shortly.
Well, autonomy or independence, whichever way you look at it, comes with its own challenges as well. So we will get to see whether it is a fallout, what is happening at the State Houses of Assembly, is a fallout of the recently earned autonomy at that level. And seated already here with us to look at this issue in the studio, we have Ezenwa Nwagu, who is Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, and convener Say No Campaign Nigeria. Once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Ezenwa.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, also joining our conversation from our Jos Network Center in Plateau State is Right Honorable Shehu Saleh Imong, I hope I got that correct, Deputy Speaker, Plateau State House of Assembly. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, and from our Kaduna Network Center is Honorable Suleiman Ibrahim Dabo, Zaria City Constituency, Kaduna State House of Assembly. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the program. City constituency. Pleasure to welcome you to the program. And from Owerri, Imo State, via Zoom, I'd like to introduce Honorable Duru Ihonukara Johnson, former chairman, House Committee on Ethics and Privileges, Information, Public Petitions, and House of Assembly Services, Imo State. It's also a pleasure to have you join us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program. Let me start with Ezenwa, because you have been observing, you're an umpire from the outside. What exactly do you make of what is happening? Some of these states where we've seen this, kind of rumble, states that have somewhat started implementing autonomy, financial autonomy.
Well, we were part of the struggle for this local government autonomy, and that's also why we could follow it a little bit more. Local government and state assembly autonomy, we could follow it more keenly. And I've been privileged to also have been part of training for state assemblies with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. So when the struggle for state assembly was going on, we were excited. We were looking forward to a situation in which we could break from the shackles, if you like, of executive grip and meddlesomeness in the affairs of legislatures. But I think that my sense is that, like you just said in your prefacing, independence or autonomy comes with much more responsibility than when you were even colonized. And many don't realize that. Many just feel that if you look at African countries, when the colonial masters left, all the issues for which we wanted them out, those who took over from them, now became even worse than the colonial masters. So whether it's privilege, whether it's abuse, whether it's corruption, whether it's oppression, intimidation, you found out that they did not relearn. That the reason why the people didn't want colonialism was because... So independence is now coming with its own... how do they say it now? The grapes of independence is, causing some tooth issues. So for me, is to say that the 12 out of 36, I think now, governors that have implemented, and that is critical, because if 12 have implemented and the states that are having challenges, there is something we have to learn about that. And if you look at Plateau, for instance, which is the Plateau, fortunately has a 7-year speaker, a speaker that was in office for 7 good years, and currently chairman of Conference of Former Speakers, and was in the forefront of legislative state assembly autonomy. And so, having granted that, if this convulsion is coming from a state, we need to pay a little more attention than we should to in other places.
All right, thank you, Ezenwa. We'll come back to you for further analysis. But now it will be right to go to Honorable Shehu Saleh Impong, Deputy Speaker, Plateau State. Of course, in our background report, we pointed out the fact that what developed in the Plateau State House of Assembly lately is nothing to be desired, and a number of Nigerians have also thought in that direction. Now, let us see into what exactly happened in Plateau State, because it will assist us in analyzing the situation in other state houses of assembly. Can we hear from you as to what really played out, in a couple of weeks that led to the situation that were witnessed in Plateau State?
Nigerians, good morning, Claire. Good morning, Kieran. It is interesting to be here today, and we thank God for that. You see, the Parliament has always been into existence right from the concept of democracy. And the views has always been that the Parliament hitherto is supposed to be independent, which to God be the glory. It has not been easy. Parliamentarians have come and gone, and a lot of painstaking effort has been made through achieving this. And to God be the glory, it has come through when we are the parliamentarians at this point in time. I think we thank God for that. Secondly, we have to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who feels it is very imperative that the much talked about the parliamentary independence, particularly at the state houses of assembly, should come to fruition. And all other non-governmental organizations, people who have deep concerns for democracy and the parliament to achieve what we have achieved. And finally, I also want to express satisfaction and thank you to His Excellency Right Honorable Simon Bakola Long, who has also granted the autonomy here in the state. But having said all this, autonomy, it is something that the Parliament has yearned for over a long period of time. And it is a welcome development. Whatever that you are seeing that is happening, of course, it is the consequences of life. That nothing good always comes easy. So therefore, a lot of effort has to be put in place. But particularly on the saga that happens in the Plateau State House of Assembly, you know, impeachment doesn't just come over night. It has to be on a stretch of time, and then people who possibly begin to see certain things that were not going correctly in the Parliament. If you look at your preview when you made mention, the Plateau State House of Assembly from inception in 2019 has been waxing stronger and stronger together until when certain things are beginning to happen. Particularly, you realize that it is a compilation of issues, just like you mentioned in the preview, when the majority leader, on behalf of the progressive members, made a press statement when the issue happens. You know, there are a catalog of issues that were compended together where people who shares that view, you know, in a democracy, there's this adage that says the majority will always have their way. But of course, you can't suffocate the voice of the minority. But you see, along the line, you see that there is high-handedness, just like the majority leader have said, which has summed up to gross incompetence. And a lot of members are beginning to feel that the speaker is no longer the speaker we used to know. Certainly, maybe because of certain factors, which we may not know until it begins to manifest. You know that collectively, we bond ourselves together to fight for that autonomy. And graciously, His Excellency, who has been on that seat and possibly understands the workings of the Parliament very well, granted that autonomy. And those rumbles begin to come on board. And you realize that over some time, you see, the Parliament, though having independence, but it is not excluded from an entire system of governance. Therefore, the Parliament hitherto is supposed to be an arm where laws, the essence of oversight is also to correlate certain wrongs that possibly the executive or the high-handedness of the executive will be checked through the Parliament. So getting to some point, we realize that the Speaker is incompetent to handle the matters, particularly as it relates to members of the Parliament, because the compilation of issues there is that for some time, you realize that from August, we were supposed to go to recess on September, but seeing that it's almost getting to the end of the year, and appropriation bill certainly will come in. And you know that the timeline has also been remodeled from 2015 moving forward, that the fiscal year starts from January and ends 31st of December. And you know that we have agreed as members of the Parliament that we are going to painstakingly peruse whatever the MDAs will bring in terms of their financial appropriation. We reverted our recess to August. After the recess, from that time, some bubble rumbles were also coming. We realized that at that time, even our sitting has always been skeletal. Little did we know that it was moving towards an unknown direction for all of us. So after the recess, we realized that we were not sitting. A lot of painstaking consultations amongst ourselves across all the divides of the house. It happens that a fusion was not coming out, and then we now said, okay, by the time we get to September, attempts were made to present the appropriation bill, which we realized that there were a lot of undertones. 3 times we couldn't give date for His Excellency Right Honorable Simon Bakola to present the budget. And of course, even before the budget, there was a bill, particularly that has to do with ranching, which we believe that here on the plateau, that issue has always been an ache in our tooth for a very long time. And then we believe that if the issue of ranching will come in, and then the House of Assembly would painstakingly look at it vis-a-vis our own commonalities here in the state and peculiarities, we believe that so that those type of clashes that is related to agriculture and rearing certainly will be solved. So these are some of the issues that took a very long time. And then, of course, a parliament, it is not the autonomy that possibly brought about whether removal of presiding officers or not. Even when there was no autonomy, you bear me witness that removals has always been consistent in virtually all the parliaments. And here we are in the 9th Assembly. We thought we would drive it out. Unfortunately, this is where we found ourselves, which is normal in a normal parliamentary setting, that once a certain number of people sat and made up the 2/3. And it is very unfortunate and sad that actors who participated, including those for and against in the parliament, and you take a decision and somebody with high repute, somebody of a caliber of a sitting senator, somebody of a caliber of a former Senate president, and people of that caliber will sit down far away from somewhere and will not compare note and will just go to press and say 6, 7, 8, or any number that is desirable by them. This is the most unfortunate and uncharitable situation that we could find ourselves at a moment like this. I think it is always important that, of course, there's not only when you go to the parliament and you see that the whole 24, it is possible you have the 24 voice on one side, but independently you have that there are people who will certainly go for and against. So therefore, if you find yourself in that type of situation, you know that Nigeria and Plateau State is not a banana republic. There are places where some of these things can be grind, and then the Plateau people will continue to go on their normal businesses.
All right, Honorable Shehu Sale Yimpong, Deputy Speaker, Plateau State. Thank you very much. You have also touched on the crux of the allegations that have been claimed by the opposition in your state, of course, based on the numbers that you have given us. But let's put you on hold. We'll come back to look at the legality of what had happened. But let's go to Imo State now to join Honorable Duru Ihionukara Johnson, who's joining us via Zoom. He's former Chairman, House Committee on Ethics and Privileges. So the power of impeachment is provided by the Constitution, of course, to check the excesses of, officials, of executive officials. And it has also been applied, several times in Imo State. How unusual is this process?
Okay, thank you once again for having me, and then good morning, Nigeria. Let me take a cue from the last speaker on the issue of independence of the autonomy. The independence of the legislative arm. First of all, I want to thank His Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, distinguished Senator Hope Uzodimma, for being one of the first governors to implement the autonomy of the legislature. And then I have to state that that is far from being the reason or reasons why there have been impeachments in some of the houses of assemblies, especially in Imo State. You can bear with me that this is not the first time a speaker has been impeached in the state. And then there are reasons why these speakers have been impeached. The first speaker was impeached when we had no autonomy. And then this recent speaker. The whole essence of autonomy is to strengthen the legislative arm of the government, to give it a bite, so that we can checkmate the executive. So it is aimed at giving strength to the legislature. So it shouldn't be a reason why the House should be torn apart. Well, I don't know where to start. We have to start from the first impeachment or the recent impeachment. But let me talk about the recent impeachment. You see, the chambers where we sit is being described as hallowed chambers. And if we should go by that word hallowed, it means something that is sacred, something that is holy, something that is consecrated, something that should be revered. In other words, as soon as anybody finds himself inside that chamber, a lot is expected of each member of the House, not just the Speaker. The Speaker is just the fourth among equals. But as the Speaker, he is supposed to exhibit a great level of trust, decorum, love, respect for his members. And if such a thing is lacking in that speaker, it amounts to desecration of the chambers. So what happened in Imo State on the 8th of November was an aftermath of what happened on the 2nd of November, whereby the Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Paul Emesium, unilaterally, without due recourse to the House rules, without due recourse to the Constitution, impeached the Deputy Speaker of the House. And not that he impeached the Deputy Speaker, there was no majority members who signed the impeachment. The House rule, we have the order of the House, the House rule. And the rule number 18 and 19 and 20 clearly stated the processes of impeachment of the Speaker, or the process of impeachment of the Deputy Speaker. But these rules were not followed. It was discovered that less than 5 persons signed the impeachment. This is gross mismanagement of office. It was as if he had used this position, for vendetta. So the House, on their own, discovered that this very act was not in consonant with the dictates of the rules of the House. That was why we quickly had to restore the integrity, the dignity of the Assembly. And as a matter of fact, that was what gave rise to his impeachment, because he has betrayed, he has desecrated the hallowedness of the Assembly or the legislature. And then the image of the House has to be restored. So the House had no alternative than to, impeach the Speaker, that's Right Honorable Paul Emesium. So that's exactly what happened there, because he deceived the public. He claimed that 18 House members signed a resolution which he hurriedly read on the floor of the House and then declared that the Deputy Speaker has been removed. I mean, that's against the House rule. It's against the ethics of, as the House Committee Chairman ethics and privileges, which all dissolved, it's against the rule of the House. So in a bid to restore our dignity, we have to do the right thing to save the image of the legislative arm of the government. And I want to quickly add that I am pretty sure that this will be the last impeachment exercise that's going to take place in Imo State. We've had the first one, and then this second one. Paul Emeziam was inexperienced, but we saw, or we felt, that he could be somebody that could be malleable, who could be taught the nitty-gritties of the legislature and then how to handle the House. But he failed. He used his position to chase after personal vendetta. And that's exactly what cost him his position. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you so much. This issue of launching vendetta, against a deputy speaker is strange to me, because invariably all the members of that house, not all, but majority of the members of that house are from the same political party. Well, that's just by the way. But I also want to believe that before a speaker is elected by the members of the House of Assembly, he must have been thoroughly examined as somebody who has leadership quality, that will not perhaps use his office against his own members, but has become perennial in the history of this country that in many states of the Federation since 1999, there has been this issue of impeachment of speakers, even when you do not have majority of members to impeach the speaker. It has happened, and even in the first 4 years of Obasanjo's administration, we've had situations where 6 or 5 members could just impeach a speaker, and it held. You see, so that's perhaps maybe the reason why it has become perennial, it has continued to, to happen. But
Kieran, the deputy speaker like to said something about, you don't have to muzzle, the voice of the minority, and he raised the point that we, I think, would also need to look. Maybe when we come back to Mr. Ezenwa.
Yes, you'll be able to analyze that. But now let's go to Suleiman Ibrahim Debo, Zaria City Constituency, Kaduna State House of Assembly. You have experience, and let's share that experience with respect to what unfolds in different houses of assembly and why this saga of continuous impeachment of speaker, deputy speaker, and in fact other members of the hierarchy in state houses of assembly.
Very much, and good morning, Nigeria. First of all, I want to say I'm really glad that this conversation is coming up, because it is very timely and very important for people to understand the nitty-gritty of what is happening. Because with this issue of financial independence or financial autonomy for the state houses of assembly, I think a lot of people are beginning to look forward to seeing better results in the different assemblies. Having said that, I think what is fundamental and key is the quality of people that you put forward for election to represent the people in the parliament. Because if you don't put the right people there, you will not expect good results. I'm not trying to say that we don't have quality representation, but I think quality representation is what is needed in the parliament, because you see the legislature is the heart of the government. All the other arms of government are just the veins and the arteries. So if you don't have the legislative arm of government, is the strongest in a democracy, especially in the presidential system of government where we are practicing it in Nigeria today. Having said this, the issue of impeachment, even though when it comes to the issue of the terminology, maybe in Nigerian context, when you say impeach, it is understood to mean removal. But in American context, it is more or less like being charged. Now, even in developed democracies in America, like in Arizona in 1988, Malcolm Evans was a governor and he was impeached. He was even convicted because the impeachment trial got him even convicted. So impeachment is nothing. It's nothing, but what is important is for people to understand that they are representatives of the people and they have the legal mandate that brought them into the parliament, so they are being watched. People are watching them. They should mind their public conduct. And another issue, very important, is we are talking about legislative autonomy. We should equally talk about the interest of members within the state houses of assembly. When you have members of the hierarchy, I'm talking about now the principal officers, it is the responsibility of the principal officers for them to understand that all other members, or rather they should understand that it is a house of equal. Each and every member in the assembly is a potential speaker, is a potential principal officer. So by the time you have that opportunity of becoming a principal officer in the state assembly, it is mandatory and obligatory on you to administer whatever responsibility that is on you with justice and fairness. Because most of these things are politically motivated. Yes, of course, our decisions are politically motivated because we are politicians. But most of these things that are happening, there are some things that are happening underground that you cannot see them openly because we are within the state assembly. We know what is happening. So I think it is important for the leadership to ensure that whatever they are going to do, they put the interests of their members, because we all had to go out to galvanize the interests, canvass for support, and eventually got elected. So we all have similar or same problems depending on the constituency where you are coming from. But then when you are going to legislate in the assembly, in the state house of assembly, you are going to legislate for the state. You are not going to legislate for your own constituency. When you introduce me, you will say a state member of Kaduna State House of Assembly representing Zaria City constituency. But when it comes to legislation, I'm not going to legislate for Zaria. I'm going to legislate. Whenever I have a bill or a motion, it is going to take care of the interests of the people of the state, not for Zaria City constituency. So it is important for the leadership of every assembly to understand that we are for the people, we've been voted by the people, and we should put public interest over and above any personal interest. That is one. Secondly, it is because of lack of harmony and cohesion. Lack of harmony and cohesion between the members of most of these states house of assembly. That is why you have, where you mostly have overbearing control of the legislative arm of government in the state assemblies. Because obviously, even if I was the governor of any state, if I happen to be a governor of any state in Nigeria, and I have more or less an assembly that has more or less lame duck members of where you have legislative infamy, I will certainly take advantage of that and do whatever I feel it's okay. That is natural with leadership. You have to have that control and loyalty. But the moment you understand that the members there are for the people and they represent the people, and whatever they are trying to do is to protect public interest, and they are not dancing to the tune, because the issue of legislative autonomy is about financial independence. The monies are still coming from the executive side of government, whether you like it or not. But how you manage and you conduct yourself, that is the way you receive the kind of treatment or respect. You get the respect from the larger society, and you get the respect from the executive side of government. We also have had series of impeachments in Kaduna State. Our last speaker was impeached. We have a new speaker now. But you see, we need to put forward quality. I think this is very, very important whenever, and I think we are getting there with this development of direct primaries election that is being proposed. And I think if people will be able to elect the right people into the parliament, then certainly the public conduct of their representatives will change. And the way and manner the assembly will even be governed will equally change. So this is very key for me. This is I think what is important. Thank you very much.
Very much, Honorable Suleiman Ibrahim Dabo, Zaria City constituency in Kaduna State House of Assembly, and you have talked about the conduct and quality of those appointed or elected into executive positions at the State Houses of Assembly. Ezenwa, if you look at the scale of impeachment now, and happening in states, again, that are implementing the financial autonomy. What do you read about the conduct of the speakers? Are they conducting themselves appropriately?
I think we should deal with terminologies because it confuses the situation if the right terminologies are not deployed. We don't have parliament in Nigeria. What we have is a legislature. Yeah. Because if you have a parliament, then there is everyone is inside the other. The executive is also the lawmaking organ. Excuse me. But in Nigeria, we have a legislative arm which is supposed to be independent, and it is on that basis that we make the argument for financial autonomy for an independent arm of government. When we make that argument, more money, what we have, all this conversation is that more money has come into the hands of the legislative arm of government. And nobody is elected a speaker from his constituency. When you are coming as a legislator. It is your colleagues. Now, the right of the people to elect who they want, quality or no quality, is their business. They suffer the consequence of who they elect. But when they have elected you into legislator, your own colleagues will now use a scale to determine the kind of person who should be their class prefect. Primus inter pares, first among equals. Like the Honorable said, everybody that is in that legislature as a member is equal. Your colleagues can then say you have leadership capabilities. So once they no longer feel that way, once majority of the members, your colleagues, don't feel that you represent them within the scale of the things that they put you there, they have a right to remove you. So terminology again, impeachment is not for speaker. It is a wrong terminology. It's removal. Because you impeach somebody who is representing the people.
Okay. Okay.
A governor will be impeached, the president will be impeached, but a speaker who were elected by his own colleagues will be taken away when they no longer feel comfortable with his and just hold on, Kirian. Yes, it's removal. So because when you use the wrong terminologies, you give the impression. And that is why extraneous interests now play in the thing. Extraneous interests come in when they don't think that colleagues can decide that we put you there, we are no longer comfortable with you. And now that you have more money, people now decide to play different, they now become governors in the place because they can now dispense patronage. They can buy members. The speaker can sit down and say, give him 20 million, give this one 10 million. He now buys loyalty among his own colleagues. When things should be discussed equitably, fairly, that is the crux of the matter. So those who say, oh, it will get better, it will not get better because in Nigeria, people don't know their role. People don't understand their role. You have a situation even when student union leaders now have PAs, SAs, and the rest of those are the aberration that we are seeing. So the speakers are, with this financial autonomy, they are seeing themselves as a mini governor. And who can now dispense patronage both in and outside. And that has become the reason why you are seeing this play.
Okay, so, let me ask you, the Deputy Speaker House Plateau listed a number of aberrations, according to them, allegations against the former speaker.
Clear all that English. Yes. Let's not waste our time. All the English that you hear, incompetence, lack of capacity, now money matter. Money. Money has come. We don't know how you are administering our money. So
there's a question of transparency.
It's transparency of disbursement. So you can clout it. Ordinarily, they are not even supposed to bring this, the reason why they remove him outside, because it will dent the image and character of that particular person. Because he's not taken away from the legislator. He's still a member when he's removed. You understand? So so that is why they resign. That is why you see some speakers, don't mess me up. Let me resign. And you saw that also in the Plateau, where the person in question, I have seen the handwritten, resignation letter and all of those things. Because if you allow the real reasons why the person is removed, that will hang on the person even afterwards, even when he's not removed. So, but within the legislature, the challenge of this financial autonomy is going to be with us if we don't make out rules in terms of how this financial autonomy can play. Otherwise, we'll have mini-czars at another arm of government. And then you also see ambition. When people have more money, they also now begin to think that they can be better than where they are. Okay, so what does a politician use money for? He uses it for patronage. What does he use it for patronage? When I leave speaker, I want to go to House of Rep. In fact, why can't I even be governor? So, you see, so it's now more the calculation. So, and you see alignments that are political rather than real. Look at many of the places. You see 2023 playing. Okay? You see a majority speaker aligning with opposition people when he has not abdicated his position as a position member. Okay? So we need to come clear, and it has something to do with the fluidity of moving from one party to the other. You are sitting in this party, your leg is in another, and you are comfortable, you are dealing. So there are bigger conversations around the challenges that we are facing in the state houses of assembly. They may not come out to put it as crudely as I have done, but believe me that it has to do with money, the disbursement of money, ambition, politics, and ego. That is why we are not going to have anything going forward.
Great. Let's go back to Impong, Deputy Speaker, Plateau State House of Assembly. You just listened to Ezenwa Nwago. He said you may not be as crude as he has been in terms of reeling out some of the issues behind closed doors, if you like that word. That there are more issues than the public would know as to the reason why there are instability in some state houses of assembly. He raised some issues. If you like, you can speak to that. But what I want to ask you really is, don't you think that all these wranglings in the state houses of assembly could lead to abdication of responsibility? Your primary responsibility is to make laws. But with all these struggles and all of that, do you think that this is affecting lawmaking, which is your primary assignment or responsibility as a member of State House of Assembly?
Absolutely, that is correct. You have just hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, this is the situation we have found ourselves, and that is why, just like what Ezenwa Nwago have said, I want to appreciate him. He's a round peg in a round hole. I have met him severally through Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Foundation, who has invested heavily on the legislature here in Nigeria, but that is on one hand. Of course, it has affected the business of the House, and that has affected the generality of the well-being and welfare of the people of Plateau State. Particularly in my initial remark, you understand that some of those reasons we said was the inability of the former speaker to reconvene the House after the recess from August. When you count from August to today, you can see that, and statutorily, there are bylaws or laws that makes the parliament in every session to have a minimum sitting of 181 days. And unfortunately, if you should, not only here on the plateau, if you traverse the length and breadth of the legislature in Nigeria, you see that there are a lot who are deficient in that, simply because of some of these tendencies that we are talking about here. Of course, there are bills, there are even the appropriation bill, like we have mentioned. There are NDAs, possibly their tenure has ended, that it is the parliament that is supposed to do it. And maybe because of the high tendencies, just like Ezenwa Wagu have said, the presiding officers, you know, initially, every member is not elected to be a presiding officer or a principal officer, just like he has postulated. It is a privilege that we get to get it at when we meet with our colleagues after inauguration. Of course, it will interest you to know that once we are not firm on saying what is right, just like what has happened, if we should allow, if 2/3 majority of people or members believe that where we are heading as a parliament or as a legislature, it is not purely centered on enhancing our performances for the well-being of the people, then of course it is the same constitution that gave the right for honorable members to cluster themselves and begin to find a better solution, as it were, to see whether you can effect a change that is going to work for the people. Of course, by the time you get to a leadership position where you see that a parliament or the legislature is seeing itself, like I said earlier, as an isolated body from a government, then it shows you that that legislative arm is already drifting, because it might not get the result of what is expected by the people. For example, you have a parliament or a legislature where certain issues will come up, and then the legislature is removing itself from a government in which it is an arm that is expected to make laws, oversight, and also to represent people, so that the whole sum of what you do as a people, so that it will benefit the people. And then that parliament is also isolating itself as if it is more independent and different from contributing to overall success of a government. And remember that in this part of the world, we practice partisan democracy. And in partisan democracies, you have a multiplicity of political parties that are jostling positions. And you realize that at the end of an election, you take inventory of how many are on one political platform and how many are on another platform. And you realize that each political party has its way of doing things, like as in the manifesto in which it has incubated itself collectively as a sum of the people to see that how you deliver goods to your people. Then at some point in time, as the journey continues, you realize that certain fallout, just like Ezenwagu said, you will belong to one political party, trying to push the aspiration of one party, but because of your personal aggrandizement, you begin to open your leg and possibly see that possibly you have a greener pasture somewhere. Then that is very, very unfortunate at that point. Because what we have at hand now, as members of the Plateau State House of Assembly or any legislative arm anywhere, the major responsibility is to contribute to good governance and orderliness in that state. And as a parliament, you cannot do that in isolation with other arms of government. That is exactly what we are saying. In a situation where a parliament is dissociating itself from a whole system of contributing to this overall well-being of the people of that locality, then definitely you know that that parliament is already drifting. Then it is the responsibility of all those members within the ambit of that legislature to look at things the way you look at it. And that is why you see that you continue to build bridges regardless of any political party. And that is where the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is succinctly clear. It mentions that members should elect their leaders amongst themselves. It didn't specify clearly whether from which political party or not which political party. But you and I know that in a democratic setting, the majority, because they have the number that whether or not they will produce, then certainly there must be an insight or a political party deliberation of how these political offices are going to be shared. But you know, like we said, moving forward, it is not all roses at the same time, that if a political party, even if you have the majority, and you are unable to manage the sensitivity and the interests of the people under your platform, that is where you have some kind of separation of tendencies, just like he postulated earlier that one leg will be in another party and another leg will also be in another party. As historians, as political historians, we have seen it over time that these things has been happening. Even in the National Assembly, it has happened more than once. So I think it is very important as members of the parliament, just like he also postulated, that moving forward, even without the autonomy, those crises of removal, and I like the way he put it so that we should continue to use the right word in a better perspective. It is removal mostly at the legislature, which I agree absolutely. Therefore, we must manage ourselves and begin to see that what we are going to do, even before now you see that there are impeachment, now that the autonomy is also coming, and the autonomy has given a leverage for honorable members to articulate themselves and begin to feel independently working. But like I have said, when you are working under autonomy or financial independence, it does not remove you to be another executive of the legislature where you can do any other thing that we as members were also alleging the executive that are doing. So moving forward, I think it is very important that what has happened has already happened. You have never moved forward and come back again. It is only when you move forward, you look at where you have passed, and you look at the lacunas that existed in the past, then it will help you to postulate on where you are going into the future. And if you look at the procedures for removal, any presiding officer, he might not even be aware that certain impeachment will happen. He will preside a sitting, and there will be a motion which is a resolution of a two-thirds as constitution provided. Then the person will move, and you will ask whether there is a seconder. Certain debate will find, and that is why you see in the video that you played for Plateau State House of Assembly, you can see there was crisis. That means that there are those that are going for, and there are those that are against the impeachment. And that is why you see some rancor there, and you can hear the shatteredness of some glasses, which means a fight ensued there. Of course, whether there is a fight or there is no fight, the procedure of laying those resolutions signed by the 60 people has been laid on the maize. And the procedure says that the presiding officer will ask the clerk to go and confirm whether the undersigned persons has met the condition. Of course, if it is certified by the clerk, then definitely that motion has taken the light of the day. But moving forward, to remove some of these encumbrances that we are talking about, and like I have said, the patronage and whatever zeal or promotions of the presiding officer, which is the speaker in that case, or any other presiding officer, which I believe the state legislature or any parliament have two, which is the deputy speaker and the speaker. Then you now say, okay, since that has been confirmed by the clerk, there is no any other bylaw, whether from either directly from the constitution or from the houses of assemblies house rule, that says that immediately after that you can now go to publish. It is in custody with the clerk of the house. And I think for us, like I said earlier, that we are not living in a banana republic. What is very important is if you are arguing that those processes are not being followed, I think there are constituted ways of which you are going to follow so that you can have that list. And like I have said, moving forward, we can subsequently, the parliament will now come up and say, okay, subsequently, immediately, you don't need to have to wait to go to court, that you can order for the publication of those people who have signed. I think for me, those are some of the areas that are still left. But you know, humanity, right from Adam to today, that is what God has said. There is no problem. Any society that you see or any system has its own shortcomings or defect. And that is why in the wisdom of crafters of democracy has made the parliament to stay so that those laws that are not functional can be injected with fresh blood so that it will continue to serve the yearning and the wishes of the people.
All right, thank you, Right Honorable Shehu Saleh. There are other points that Ezewan Wagu raised that you didn't touch. Perhaps in the course of the program you could do that, because he talked about the issue of money matter, which is very, very crucial. Because we're talking about independence of the houses of assembly, and more issues are beginning to unfold. For now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be going back to Imo and, of course, talk to Duru Ihonokara Johnson for further analysis. Stay with us. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Well, the housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing type based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 34 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
All right, we're glad to have you back. Let's now go to Honorable Duru Ihonokara Johnson, former Chairman, House Committee on Ethics and Privileges, Imo State. You have listened to Ezewan Wagu and the Deputy Speaker of Plateau State House of Assembly. And we are trying to arrive at a point where Nigerians will understand the crux of the matter. We have laid out a number of issues that led to the impeachment of the Speaker. But we're also talking about the other underlying factors which may not be public with respect to the issue of autonomy of Houses of Assembly. There are insinuations, that the issue of money comes in here, the distribution of scarce resources, as it concerns the running, day-to-day running of the House of Assembly. Was there any such matter in the Imo State situation that could have led to the impeachment of the Speaker, as you rightly told us?
Thank you once again. The issue raised by Mr. Ezewan Wagu is not far from some of the challenges most assemblies have, the issue of money. But I want to specifically talk about the case of Imo State. You will recall that Imo happens to be one of the 4 states that went autonomy among all the states in the Federation, because we have a governor who was a legislator and he knows the true essence of being independent. Having said that, prior to that, the governor called a meeting. He warned us earnestly. He already knew that money is likely to be a problem in the parliament, in the house. And he would not want anything that would distort the will of the progress of Imo State. So he told us, or rather he admonished us, that we should not allow this autonomy to disintegrate us, that we should not let money take preeminence over our legislative duties. And of course, we reassured the governor that as far as Imo State Assembly is concerned, money wouldn't be a problem, it wouldn't be an issue, that we can handle that aspect of it. And we assured him, and I can assure you as we speak right now, the recent incident that led to the impeachment of the speaker has nothing to do with money. It's as a result of the speaker acting ultra vires. And the members practically lost confidence in the speaker before this time. A situation whereby there's this apathy to, executive sessions. There is nonchalance in attending plenaries. There's this lackluster attitude of members. You go to plenary and you will not be able to form quorum. That goes to show that something is wrong at the head. And the speaker went further. When we are trying to ameliorate issues, to manage the situation, he then exhibited what we have described as a desecration of the parliament. That is that. So money is key, but as far as the impeachment of Right Honorable Paul Emezem is concerned, it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with high-handedness, vendetta, and the inordinate use of power. A situation whereby a speaker can impeach somebody without due process. You can't impeach a deputy speaker, for instance, by the signature of 6 House members. It's not possible. That has not formed the 2/3 of the majority. That is acting ultra vires. It is unexpected of somebody who occupies such exalted position. We have 27 local governments here. And if you go through the list of those that signed his impeachment, we are about 21 in number. So if the 18 he claimed that signed the impeachment of the deputy speaker is anything to go by, do we have 37 House members, 18 plus 19 or thereabout? So it was a trust he betrayed. And tongues have been wagging. What do we do in this Imo State? Is it to impeach speakers? So the best we could do to avoid embarrassment is to restore the image of the legislature here. That is why we have to do the impeachment. Or rather, let me use the word removal. Like everyone rightly said, we should not use the word impeachment, so to say. But these house rules calls it impeachment. So that is where we are. Obviously, the rancor in the House has a way of affecting the executive. And that is why this time around, we looked around to make sure that we install somebody who has tutelage of legislation, somebody who has great legislative experience in the person of Right Honorable Kennedy Ibe, who presently we have installed. That is why in my earlier submission, I said, I am cocksure that this will be the last impeachment we'll ever have in Imo State. Because right now we have somebody who knows the onions, somebody who has gone from the tutelage, one time leader in the councillorship, local government councillorship, to being the PA to a commissioner, a member of the 8th Assembly, and now a member of the 9th Assembly. He is ranking, he's experienced. Unlike Paul Emezem, who was a first time, or who is a first-timer, But we had to relax the house rule to give him a chance. But now that he has failed, he has paid the ultimate price.
Honorable Ihe Onukara Johnson, thank you. Hopefully we'll return to you in the course of the program. But let's go to Kaduna Network Center. Honorable Suleiman Ibrahim Dabo. In all of the impeachment, I don't think there's any removal of any speaker or executive that the state executive, that's the governor, has not been linked. I would like for you to speak on that. And also, in Plateau, for instance, the ousted speaker is alleging illegality based on Section 92 of the Constitution, which provides for 2/3. But also, the deputy speaker has touched on the issue of minority interest. How do we reconcile Section 92 with the interests of the minority in the House of Assembly?
I think it's a very important, or these are very important issues raised and a question as well. You see, I have made an opening statement that the Legislative Assembly is a house of equals. Let me just domesticate what I'm going to say, just give an example with Kaduna State. If you look at the State House of Assembly in Kaduna State, today we have 10 PDP members. They are the minority. And over a period of time, from this sixth assembly, from the beginning of this sixth assembly, I don't think we've ever had a single problem with the minority PDP in the assembly. I don't want to say the parliament because I've been corrected. Now, what is the secret behind that? It is the simple fact that we've recognized the essence of our existence in the parliament as representatives of the people in Kaduna State. We are there for Kaduna. We are not there to fight. So I think it is important for all assemblies where you have the minority, because I believe in the whole of Nigeria, you can really find an assembly where there is no minority party there. So if that is so it is important whatever decision is going to be taken, we should take them, we should carry them along, we should do it together. Because we only come to discuss our party differences when we are seeking for election. We say this one is PDP, who come to canvass and campaign to the people, canvass for votes and say, okay, this candidate is not good, it's not that, it's better you go. You naturally canvass for votes for your party. But at the moment, we are now in the parliament to represent the people. Now, on the issue of linking, for example, let me talk about the issue of Plateau State. If you look at it from the media, what the media has been reporting, I think specifically Premium Times, I read, they were saying that the removed speaker was having an issue with the governor related to the way and manner the governor has been handling the security issues in the state. That he wasn't really happy with the way and manner the governor has been handling the security issues. Now, these are issues reported in some of the media, but then from the narration, from the side of the deputy speaker, you are hearing an entirely different thing. But it has been proven that in history, in Nigerian context, that most of the removals of speakers in the state's houses of assembly were mostly connected with the executive governors. This has been proven beyond any reasonable doubt. For example, the case of Edo State. You have a situation whereby I think they have about 24 members of the state assembly, but only 10 were inaugurated, and people are alleging that the governor refused to make sure the remaining members have taken oath of office. So these are some of the things that but I think it's a matter of working in synergy and understanding. It's a matter of understanding that we are here for the people, and we represent the interests of the people. And the moment we continue to fight, and the people will never see anything. And what is even more disturbing from the side of the larger populace is when you have a situation whereby you've been elected with a popular mandate to represent the people, but the people are, you never hear Nigerians asking legitimate and valid questions on what are the number of bills and motions a member has put forward before the parliament or in the assembly. You never hear people asking such questions. They mostly ask, how many people have you sponsored to the hospital, putting off their medical bills? How many people have you given cars? How many people have you? So the moment people will wake, the larger voting populace will wake up to the responsibility and be asking this kind of legitimate and valid questions, saying that, what are you doing in the parliament? Even if there is a problem within the parliament would sit up. And this is a problem that cut across, if not all, most of the Nigerian assemblies. You never hear people asking, even from the side of the civil society organizations. You will have an assembly that will be bombarded with a lot of executive bills. You really find legislators coming up to discuss issues affecting their people, whatever the reason might be. It is left to so these are fundamental issues that will put, if people will begin to ask these legitimate questions, they will put the assembly in a better position in order to have better delivery of public goods. Now, lastly, this issue of financial autonomy. I want to believe that we should still be expecting more and more. I'm not praying, God forbid, problems, because when you talk about money, because I am so happy that a lot of the discussants have already mentioned that most of the problems are attributed to money in one way or the other. But we should expect more rancor, more rift in the state assemblies as state governors are sent to this issue of legislative autonomy, because more resources will come into the assembly, even though if you contextualize it, there are even states, for example, Niger State. Niger State, till today, they have not had the state autonomy, and I believe some of a state like Niger will not even want to have it now, because if they go into the autonomy now, the resources that they are likely to get will not be anything to write home about, because they may not even get what they are getting now because of their economic realities. So when you look at this asymmetry, you will say that Niger State will prefer to even remain without autonomy than to go into autonomy, because if they go into the autonomy, because they even have to borrow after a fact to even pay salaries. So now if you tell them, take the autonomy, and I believe this is partly one of the reasons that some of the states have not even gotten into the autonomy now, and I believe some of the state legislatures are fully aware of the realities on ground, and that is why they are not pushing for it, because they have made some calculations saying that if we go into this autonomy, we are likely not going to have anything compared to what we are having now, even though we are not even better off now. But I think these are part of the reasons that we should take into consideration. But of course, even in the event that the autonomy see the light of the day, we are likely going to have more challenges, because the more you talk about distribution of resources that were hitherto not there, now you are going to have resources, you will be fully autonomous as stipulated in the Nigerian Constitution. You have the money.
I want to appreciate you for that. As a matter of fact, there's no doubt that you are a legislator based on your submissions this morning. We understand the real concept of being a legislator and what a legislator should be doing for the people he represents. Thank you indeed. Let's return to Deputy Speaker Plateau State. Just in few seconds, he raised some 2 points. That's Ibrahim Dabo in connection with what happened in Plateau State. He said that there was insinuation that the speaker was not happy with the governor in the way he's handling security matters in the state. That is one. Secondly, we would like to know whether the speaker at any point in time resigned before this incident.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you very much, Kirian. I think I have met it in my earlier submission. As a speaker, like I said, the State House of Assembly is not an independent government on its own, but it is an arm of an entire government that governs the state. And just like my brother from Kaduna has mentioned, you know, we here, there are some sensitive matters that certainly, as a leader, you don't bring it out to the national television like that for the fear of misrepresentation, which certainly tomorrow you will hear that it have engulfed or eaten some people, as it were, at some level. But the issue of the premium time report, as he said, that the speaker is standing with the people, you see, these are the concept, the unfortunate concept that we're talking about. As a speaker of a state house of assembly, like I said, you are an arm of a sum of a government. And anywhere you are carrying your responsibility, it is expected that you are speaking on behalf of the government. You don't go, even if the governor, for example, if that story is correct, that the speaker said so, that he is being victimized because he is standing with the people of Plateau State, then we ask him, is the Speaker of a State House of Assembly an executive government on his own, or is a subset of a government in generally? It is expected that anywhere the Speaker will address the people, he is addressing the people on behalf of the people, addressing the people. He is supposed to be talking as an arm of government and so whole government entirely, because as a Speaker, you are the number 3 citizen of a state. Therefore, if there are other reservations or issues that possibly that is a mindset or certain things that you as the sitting speaker or as a member of the officer of the parliament, and you feel that there are certain positions of the parliament, that is why strictly what we do as a parliament is to lobby. You can make all the beautiful laws. We have seen them. This is not the first time. That even if, no matter how beautiful a law or a resolution you will make, possibly the executive will not look at it. Therefore, it is your responsibility as a leader of the
former speaker at any time resign? Just give us a yes or no answer. Did the former speaker at any time resign before this removal? Mr. Wagu,
okay.
just yes.
So because you dwelling on Plateau, Plateau has a governor who is an institutional memory for state legislature in the recent 7 years as a speaker. You can't take that away. Chairman of former speakers conference, you can't take that away. A lawyer. So the expectation is that he understands the nuances around legislative, executive engagement. What we expect in that place is that people should understand their role. The speaker is not a mini governor. He is the speaker among his colleagues. Okay. So when you address, you can't even address the whole state. You should not be addressing the whole state. You should address in the chambers, talking in the chambers. But what we have seen is people play up, not understanding their rules. But hopefully, we want to see a situation in which both the media also understands how these things work, because it is the media that talks about pitching the people against and all of those things. And
all right, thanks on our side. So what we have learned today is that it's removal of the speaker and not necessarily impeachment of the speakers of houses of assembly. Ezenwa Mwago, thank you indeed for being here this morning. As always, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms and Convener, CNO Campaign Nigeria. We'd also like to appreciate Right Honorable Shehu Saleh Ibong, Deputy Speaker, Plateau State House of Assembly. Thank you for clearing the air on some of the issues concerning Plateau State House of Assembly. Honorable Suleiman Ibrahim Dabo, Zaria City Constituency, Kaduna State House of Assembly. It's been a pleasure talking to you this morning. We've also learned a good deal from you this morning on what the legislature is all about. Honorable Duru Ihonokara Johnson, former Chairman, House Committee on Ethics and Privileges, Imo State. Thank you indeed for waking up with us this morning and being part of this conversation.
All right. Close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we have come to the end of the show today. We thank you for being part of us. Join us again next week, Monday, when we return with a fresh edition of Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kirian Umayo. You have a great weekend.
I am Claire Adelabo Abdul Razak. Thank you for watching, and as always, we do implore you to join us in our fight against rape and rapists. From all the production crew